Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this episode 3691BN. Today's date is July 23rd, 2025, and the title of the episode is Obama Took the Bait. Trump is preparing the people to accept arrests. Think logically. Pain. Let's talk about our health. The science is in. A clinical trial found that just 10 grams of collagen a day for 8 weeks led to a roughly 20% increase in skin hydration and a 17% improvement in elasticity, while also visibly reducing wrinkle depth. If you want to help improve your skin health, it's clear that collagen is essential. This is why I use the Secret Magical Powder, and I'm obsessed with the results. Multi-Collagen provides my skin with 5 types of premium collagen to help attack wrinkles from every angle. I'm seeing smoother skin, more elasticity, fewer lines, and more youthful glow. Plus, Multi-Collagen mixes smoothly with my morning coffee or tea. There's no clumping and zero added flavor. Do yourself a big favor and grab yourself a bag of ageless Multi-Collagen now for 51% off only at healthwithx22.com. Plus, by ordering today, you'll also receive free VIP life health and fitness coaching for life and a free ebook titled The 14 Foods for Amazing Skin, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free shipping with your order. Once again, this offer is only available at healthwithx22.com. That's healthwithx22.com, or just click the link in the description. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech fake news, the puppet masters, they are now panicking like we've never seen before. There's panic in D.C. Tulsi Gabbard was doing a press conference letting everyone know that Obama orchestrated the entire Russian collusion thing. And what's very interesting about all this is, like CNN and other networks, they decided to cut away as Tulsi was explaining all this information. Because again, how do you spin this? It'd be very, very difficult. So what do? You make sure that people don't hear it, especially your base. Because remember, CNN, MSDNC, and all the New York Times and all Wall Street Journal and all the Washington Post, they were pushing the Russian collusion. Remember, their Pulitzer Prizes were awarded to some of these outlets. And now the whole thing is completely and utterly falling apart. And what's very interesting, like we said yesterday, Trump is baiting Obama and others to continually try to cover up on what they have done. And Obama took the bait. And as soon as they took the bait, what did Tulsi do? She came out with more evidence to debunk everything that he just said. So now people are looking at this and they're saying, wow, look at this. He's covering up everything that he's done. Everything that he just said is now fake, phony, and false. So think about what Trump is doing right now. He's preparing the people to accept arrests. Now, once again, if you're listening to this podcast or many other podcasts and you've been researching on your own, yes, you might know all of this. But if you speak to your family, your friends, your cousins, your uncles, your aunts, and you speak to them, most of the people have no idea. Actually, most of the people probably won't even believe you because they'll say it's a gigantic conspiracy. So what Trump has to do, he has to educate the people, and this takes time. You have to break away the brainwashing. And it's not only just for the Republicans and independents, it's also for the Ds. So what we're going to see is we're going to see a lot more of this information come out. Yes, Trump has already paved the way. He set everything in motion, saying that, yes, he is guilty. He committed treason. And remember, everything is connected. It's not just Russian collusion. It's the overthrow of the United States government. Actually, if we go all the way back in time to when Obama was elected, I do believe that's when he overthrew the United States government and he began the insurgency back then. Now, will that part come out? We'll have to wait and see. But I do believe that we're going to see the part about 2020 actually come out and show that they were responsible for that. They were responsible for COVID. They were responsible for everything that we have seen. And you have to really think logically about all of this. As Trump is educating all these people, we do not have the judiciary that we need to press charges against all these people. I do believe Trump wants to follow the path of the Constitution, which means he wants to follow the path of the rule of law. Remember, these people are not in offices. They are citizens now, and they are tried in federal court. They're not tried in military tribunals. Now, if he cannot fix the judiciary, and let's take, for example, if we don't win the House, we don't win the Senate, and we still have rhinos in there, we might have the majority, but we don't have control. Or what happens if we lose control? I don't think that's going to happen with everything that we're seeing right now, but let's just use that as an example. That means we will not be able to fix the judiciary. That means we will not be able to remove a lot of these judges, which means, can we actually have a fair trial? No, I don't believe so, because the judiciary, it's not functional, which means Trump would have to take this to the next step. And again, the next step is making these people enemy combatants. They committed treason against this country. They're waging war against this country. And I don't think it's that difficult to move to the next phase to make them enemy combatants. And really think about what Trump is doing right now. He is now taking everything that they have done and he's turning it on them. Why did he wait for this moment? Why didn't he do it in 2016? Why didn't he release information, the D-class information, when he wasn't even president? Because again, he didn't have the leverage. He didn't have the strength. Times have changed. Trump has been weakening the enemy over and over and over. He has the leverage. He has control over the agencies. He's dismantling the deep state players, all their NGOs and the different agencies. He's removing all of these people. The last thing he really needs to do, and yes, he's going to continue with all the other things, but one of the major things he has to do, he has to dismantle the judiciary the way it is today. Because you have to remember, the deep state players set it up where no one would be found guilty and no one would serve time. We could see this with Kevin Kleinsmith. We could see it with Durham when he went to D.C. and tried to try people. None of this worked. Yes, we still have the court records. Yes, a lot came out, and we don't have to repeat all that, and I do believe that's going to be used later from Durham. But think about it. So if you do not hear anyone getting arrested in the next month, 2 months, 5 months, 8 months, 12 months, do not get upset. Because again, where are we going to try these people? I do believe Trump needs the people to wake up. It's going to take some time. And we need to put people into place that will actually follow the rule of law. So yes, you're hearing all of this news now. People are getting very, very excited. But take those expectations of arrests happening tomorrow, put them to the side, because again, we only have one chance to do this, and we have to do it right. Because if we don't do it right, all these people are going to get off, and all this was a waste of time. And I do believe this is why Trump is taking his time and making sure that everything is in place. And we're in the phase right now where he's exposing the deep state, exposing their treasonous crimes, and waking up the population. Remember, just because, a couple of people who've been following this are awake doesn't mean the entire country believes in what they're seeing. They're seeing it. They're probably saying, I can't believe this. Or maybe they said, I thought something was wrong. I thought he was a criminal. But again, the D's still have to get on board. Remember, this is about uniting the country and pointing to a common enemy so we can take the country back. If the country is divided, it will not work. And this is why Trump is taking this approach. So again, do not get upset if you don't see arrests in 3 months, because you know what's going to happen. Those people on X, those people on Truth and all over the place, they're going to say, see, no arrests are happening. Well, think logically. Where are you going to try these people? If we arrest them all now, what are we going to go in front of Judge Boasberg? What are we going to go in front of all the other judges? Where are you going to try them? So at this point in time, everything is going as planned. Trump is waking up the population. We're going to be talking a lot more about this and what Tulsi has put out there. And of course, what's going to happen is Obama's going to try to spin it again. But each time this happens, it gets worse and worse for Obama, Hillary Clinton, the fake news. Remember, they're all in on it. And basically, it shows guilt every single time because they're trying to say that, no, this is what happened. Oh, no, that's what happened. And then all of a sudden, Tulsi says, nope, that's not what happened. You lied. You lied again. You keep lying. And that's what people are going to see. Now, we'll be talking about all about this a little bit later in this report. But first, let's talk about the high-speed train in California, because you have to remember, Governor Newsom is trying to convince everyone that it's going to take a long time, 10, 15, 20, 30 years to build this high-speed train. And I just want to put this in perspective. Let's go back a little bit in time. Let's go back to the time of the Hoover Dam. We were in a economic depression during this period of time. And during this period of time, and the Bull Moose Project put this out, it took 5 years at the height of an economic depression to build the Hoover Dam. And think about it. The government can't even fix a sidewalk today. Now, let's use a railroad, for example. The first transcontinental railroad in the United States, connecting the eastern and western parts of the country, was completed between 1863 and 1869, taking approximately 6 years to build. This monumental project, primarily constructed by the Central Pacific Railroad from the west and the Union Pacific Railroad from the east, spanned about 1,912 miles from Omaha, Nebraska to Sacramento, California, with 2 lines meeting at Promontory Summit, Utah on May 10th, 1869. So think about the California high-speed rail. So far, it's been 8 years. They're saying that's going to take, another 15, 20 years? And the amount of track that they need is about 800 miles, compared to 1,900 miles going back in time. So ask yourself a simple question. Why can't this be built in 6 years, 5 years, 4 years? Actually, the technology is better. Actually, we have machines to do a lot more. Remember, going back in time, a lot of the track, all of this was done by hand. Now we have machines to do this. And yes, they had to build bridges. Yes, they had to put up the infrastructure in certain places. The same thing now. But now we have the technology, we have the machines to make this go even faster. So the question is, why can't they do it? Because they're laundering the money, and they're laundering it out of California into the pockets of NGOs and many other people. And this is why nothing is ever getting done. Now, the other thing that we could see is that all of Stephen Colbert's friends, they're all coming out trying to support him. Fallon, we have many other individuals, David Letterman and the rest, they're all behind him. Remember, all of these shows are losing money every single year. Can you imagine if you ran a business and you had something that just lost money every single year? Would you actually keep it? No, you wouldn't, unless you're trying to push a certain agenda. And that's exactly what CBS was trying to do. And what's very interesting is they're trying to blame this all on Trump. No, it's because these shows actually suck. And there's not many people watching, because if people are watching it, guess what? They wouldn't be losing money. They would have advertisers coming out of the wazoo. Andy Ngo put this out and said, without evidence, Stephen Colbert and Democrat politicians are spreading conspiracy theory that Trump forced CBS to cancel Colbert's show. His show had been losing tens of millions for years due to huge production costs and a lack of advertisers. And it's the same with Jimmy Fallon. It's the same with Kimmel. It's the same with all of these shows. Nobody is watching. Nobody is interested. And that should tell you everything you need to know. And when you look at the border, you could see the deep state, the D's, they're panicking like we've never seen before, because they're watching all their constituents, all the people that they brought in here. They're all being deported. And what's very interesting is Maria Elvira Salazar is trying to convince everyone that the Dignity Act is not amnesty. There are no handouts. Now remember, when they call something like the Dignity Act or the Affordable Care Act or the Patriot Act, it never really means what it says. Immigration Accountability Project responded to her and said, it's definitely amnesty. Amnesty for illegal aliens and amnesty for the employers that hire them. Lots and lots of amnesty. That's exactly what it is. Spencer Lindquist responded to all of this and said the following on X. Leftist groups with the ties to Democrat billionaire George Soros are lining up to support Republican Representative Maria Salazar to push to give legal status to millions of illegal aliens. These groups hate Trump immigration policies, but they love Salazar's mass amnesty plot. So think about it. She is a Republican, but again, it's in name only. She's really a Democrat, and these people are installed via these people. Charlie Kirk responded to all this and said, while Representative Maria Salazar's actual voters hate her amnesty bill, guess who loves it? The George Soros-funded, far-left open borders cabal. Soros has dumped millions into funding them. And again, who do you think is pushing all of this? I think it's becoming clearer and clearer every single day, just like it's becoming very, very clear that there was a sleeper in the DOJ. Remember the individual that created the app that warned people that ICE was coming? It was an anti-ICE app. Well, his wife, she was a co-owner in the app, and she worked for the DOJ. And Pam Bondi got rid of her. Sean Davis says the following. She is a minority owner of the app, and she worked for the DOJ, and that is why she was fired. Remember, she's not on Trump's team. She's not on the team of we the people. She's on the team of the deep state players, and she was found out. And now she's pissed. But again, we could see that these people, they're going to be flushed out every single day. Remember, there's a lot of sleepers still. There's a lot of people that could do damage or try to stop Trump. And I do believe Bondi, Cash, and the rest, they're continually searching for these people. And when something comes up like this, they just pretty much get rid of them. And what's very interesting, if we go back a little bit in time, remember there were hundreds of thousands of children missing. And Biden, they never lifted a finger to find any of these children. And who's finding them right now? Tom Homan and team. They're finding the children. And Biden and his administration, they were basically told where a lot of these children were. People called the hotline, but the hotline went unanswered because they really didn't care. Wall Street Apes put this out and said, the Biden admin set up a hotline so that unaccompanied minors could call if they had trouble with the strangers they were being placed with. 65,000 calls to this hotline went unanswered. So you're telling this committee, that Biden administration, while they were letting all these unaccompanied minors into the country, as we've talked about today, they weren't keeping track of them. They issued these kids a hotline that they could call if they had trouble with the sponsor family they were placed with. And you're saying that 65,000 calls to this hotline designated to protect these kids went unanswered. Is that what you're telling this committee? Her response to all this? Yes, sir. Democrats are literally evil. How could they possibly win another election ever again? So basically, Miss Hopper, who was testifying, she testified that, yeah, they set up a hotline. It sounds good in the press, but nobody really cared. Nobody wanted to answer the question. Because again, who were they placing these children with? These weren't upstanding citizens. These sponsors were using them for sex trade. They were using them for child labor. And this was the whole entire agenda of the Biden administration. And what's very interesting, and Libs of TikTok put this out, police just busted an underground sex ring in Alabama where children as young as 3 were drugged and tied up while adults raped them. I mean, really think about this for a second. And think about all these other children. Absolutely unbelievable. Now, the other thing that we could see is that the deep state players, they are now struggling with the Ukraine war because, again, their entire plan is completely and utterly falling apart. And we could see that Trump's plan to actually starve Ukraine of funds, of weapons, it's actually working. And the other thing that's really interesting is that Zelensky, he signed a bill weakening anti-corruption agencies, and people started to protest in Ukraine. Thousands of people gathered in Kiev and other cities across Ukraine to urge the president to veto a controversial bill that threatens anti-corruption infrastructure. It marked the first major rally against the government in more than 3 years of war. Ukraine's parliament passed legislation that will tighten oversight of 2 key anti-corruption agencies, which critics say could significantly weaken their independence and give Zelensky and his circle greater sway over investigations. And of course, Zelensky signed the bill into law, and the people now are pissed and they are protesting, which is very, very interesting. But we could see there are peace talks that are happening right now, and this is happening in Istanbul, Turkey. And this is the 3rd round of Ukraine talks with Russia, Turkey, and Ukraine. Now, I do believe as time goes on, Ukraine is going to find it very, very difficult to keep this war going because, again, they're not getting aid where they don't have to repay this money. They're actually going to have to borrow the money from the EU, which means they're going to have to repay this money, which means the country is going to be in a lot of trouble. Plus, NATO and the EU, not just loaning Ukraine money, they also have to use their money to purchase the weapons. and then give the weapons to Ukraine for free? Or are they going to make Ukraine purchase the weapons with the loan that they're giving them? As of right now, they've given them weapons, defense weapons for free. But eventually what's going to happen is they're going to say, listen, we can't keep this up. We have no more money. What are we going to do? You're going to have to use the money that you're borrowing to pay for all this. Zelensky is going to be in a very, very tough situation. And I do believe Trump is forcing the EU, the deep state players, NATO, Zelensky to the table. Even though there's negotiations going on, he's going to force them to make a peace deal, not a ceasefire deal, a peace deal. And if they're ready to go and Putin isn't, well, guess what? Trump is going to place tariffs on third parties, and this will affect Russia, which will actually bring all these parties to the negotiating table. And this is going to be very, very interesting as we move forward. Now, the other thing that we could see is that Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he is now making changes to the entire health industry. For food, he's removing the dyes and chemicals. And for medicines and vaccines, he's removing mercury-based preservatives, thimerosal, from all flu vaccines distributed in the U.S. And what's very interesting about this is that, first of all, there's no reason to have mercury in these vaccines because, again, this hurts children, hurts people. Secondly, I think eventually what's going to happen is we're going to find out that we don't even need the flu vaccines. Now, if you start to remove everything from the market all at once, the people freak out because a lot of these people, they still believe in vaccines. They still believe I need a flu shot. They've been getting it for years and years and years. Do you really need a flu shot? Actually, most of the time, the flu shot that they give you doesn't even work. I do believe we could fight the flu with other medications like hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, zinc, D3, C. And I do believe those would be more effective than getting a vaccine. So I do believe that RFK Jr., he's doing this very slowly. And soon, I do believe he's going to tell the public that, listen, we looked into the flu vaccine. Yes, we removed all mercury from all vaccines, but it looks like these flu vaccines do absolutely nothing. And also the big pharma and the deep state players, when you're removing all these different chemicals, that's really what they want you to get. And if you start to removing it all, they don't really care about their vaccines anymore because everything's removed. And they're going to find out that these vaccines do absolutely nothing. Eventually, what's going to happen, I do believe, is that people are going to start to learn that there's better ways of treating these type of illnesses. Any type of virus, you can most likely use hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. And if you read a lot of the peer-reviewed documentation, you can see that these really work. And this is why Dr. Zelenko and others started to give their patients hydroxychloroquine. They started to give them ivermectin because, again, these are antiviral type of medications that fight the viruses. So I do believe in the future, we're going to find out that everything that they've been doing to hide these medications, they cure quite a bit. Let me ask you a question. You feeling tired, sluggish, or foggy? It could be poor blood flow. Blood Flow 7 by Juvenon is scientifically designed to support healthy circulation so you feel energized, clear-headed, and vibrant again. Packed with natural ingredients like nitrocygene, S7, and trans resveratrol, Blood Flow 7 works by boosting nitric oxide levels, a molecule that relaxes blood vessels, helping your blood flow freely to every corner of your body. That means more oxygen, nutrients to your brain, heart muscles, and even places that need a little extra help as you age. With just one dose a day, you can reclaim your stamina, support heart health, and improve overall vitality, all without caffeine or stimulants. Try Blood Flow 7 today and feel the difference where it matters most, inside your veins. Visit bloodflow7.com/X22. That's bloodflow7, the number 7.com/X22, or click the link in the description. And I do believe as time goes on and we get away from big pharma, people are going to start to do tests. There's going to be peer-reviewed documentation, and people are going to start to learn that, wait a minute, this doesn't just take care of the flu. It doesn't just take care of COVID or the common cold. This also takes care of cancer and many other ailments. Actually, this is like a wonder drug. Why haven't we been using this? Who's been stopping us from using this? I think people are going to find out as time goes on. But again, you have to start out slow. You have to get people on board. Make sure people accept this, and eventually you can actually show people the truth and the people will be on your side and you can move forward. And actually, Big Pharma is going to have a huge amount of trouble because, again, I do believe they've been keeping all the cures from the people. Think about it. When was the last time a cure came out from the pharmaceutical companies? All they do is they continually just repackage the same drugs over and over and over, and all these drugs have side effects. And then you need another drug for that side effect. They just want to keep the entire country on drugs. I think this is about to end right now. Now, the other thing that we could see is that there are more and more organizations that are now falling in line with Trump's executive order where there's no men allowed on women's sports. The U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee has banned transgender biological males from competing in women's events to comply with the executive order issued by Trump. The committee announced the change after informing the national support governing bodies that it has an obligation to comply with Trump's February executive order, keeping men out of women's sports. And that is Executive Order 14201, which requires federal agencies and organizations receiving federal funding to enforce sex-based distinctions in sports. Under the new rules, athletes must compete in the category corresponding to their biological sex at birth. So right there, you can see Trump is just shutting all this down because, again, these organizations, they're not going to get federal funds. Again, money really helps in these type of situations because once they hear they're not going to get money, look what happens. All of a sudden they say, whoa, we got to follow this or we're not getting our funds. I think if this happens with every single school and money follows the children, you're going to see all the schools start to fire all these bad teachers. They're going to change the curriculum. They're going to remove those books, the trans books and all that. Everything would change because you would have to compete with other schools. And if you're competing with other schools that are actually teaching the children, the test scores are going up, and people are seeing that these are the better schools to go to, well, it means those schools that are trying to push these type of agendas of trans and LGBTQ and all these other things, they're going to have to change to compete with the other schools, or they'll have no students and they'll have no money. And again, this is what Trump, I do believe, is now implementing. But let's see how this all plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting. Now, the other thing that we could see is, remember when Mamdani said he wants to subsidize and put in city-funded grocery stores because this will be a lot better for the people? Well, if he does get elected and he actually moves forward with this, the people of New York are going to suffer. I think we all know this because the socialist systems do not work. And Wokeness put this out and said, city-funded grocery store trial in Kansas City has already failed. Shelves are completely empty, food rotten, and there's a huge amount of theft. So the city-funded grocery store KC Sun Fresh at 31st Street and Prospect Avenue in Kansas City, Missouri, is experiencing significant problems. Large sections of the store, including produce, meat, dairy, and dry goods, are frequently understocked or completely bare. Shoppers have noted a lack of essential items like vegetables and eggs for extended periods of time. Recent accounts describe a noticeable rotten odor in the store, indicating a spoilage of remaining inventory. The store and surrounding Linwood Shopping Center have faced rampant issues with shoplifting, drug use, loitering, and other antisocial behaviors, deterring customers. Despite increased police patrols and Community Action Network safety concerns persist. The store reported a loss of $885,000 last year, with weekly customer traffic dropping from 14,000 to about 4,000. A $750,000 city funding infusion in 2025 was used to pay off invoices and restock shelves, but the store remains in the red. Which means what Mamdani wants to do in New York, it's gonna fail. And this was a trial run in this city. So think about what's going to happen. So let's say he does win. The people of New York, they're going to turn on him very, very quickly. The same thing is going to happen in any other city where they elect this type of person, where they're pushing socialism. And again, sometimes you have to show the people. Sometimes the people have to actually experience it and see it for themselves. It sounds good when people say, oh, we're going to subsidize it. You're not going to pay that much. They're not going to price gouge anymore. But when they start to realize, I can't get food. There's no food whatsoever. This makes no sense. I went to every market in the city. There's nothing. How are we supposed to live? How are we supposed to feed ourselves? And think about the housing, where he just wants to get rid of housing. He wants the city to manage all of this. This is going to be a complete and utter disaster in the end. But sometimes people have to experience it and see it. And then the people rise up and they say, enough is enough. Hey, they did it with Trump. They saw what Biden did over the 4 years. What do you think the people did? They said enough is enough, and they elected Trump. He had enough people to override their cheating system. That's how bad it really was. Think about that for a second. But there are still deep state players within the Trump administration, and every day that passes, more and more are being brought out into the open. Amuse put this out and said, Biden burrowed a far-left Democrat activist into NSA before he left office. April Falcon Doss has written extensively about her hatred of Trump and supported the prosecution of Michael Flynn and Carter Page even after they were cleared. She advocated for the debanking and online censorship of conservatives. She celebrated when Trump's family had their bank accounts closed and when she was banned from every major social media platform. So here's another individual within the NSA, and I do believe Biden, and I don't believe it was Biden, Obama and other people in the Biden administration. What they did was they set up insurance policies. They planted the deep state players within all these different agencies. And Trump and team, Cash, Bondi, Gabbard, Noam, Ratcliffe, they're all searching for these people. And every day, another one is brought out into the light. And I do believe by the time the midterms come around, I do believe we're going to see that these agencies, they're pretty much cleaned out. I do believe a lot of these sleepers will be discovered. They'll be removed. And for the most part, most of these agencies will be clean enough where they can be operational in the next phase of arrest and bringing people to justice. And you can see every step of the way, Kash Patel, he's the director of the FBI, he is protecting the American people. He's actually doing the work. And think about why Trump needed Kash in this position. Because now the FBI can do their job, and every time the deep state tries to do something, his people are actually looking for these people that might do us harm. This is how Trump and the Patriots are protecting we the people. This is what FBI Director Kash Patel put out. He's referring to an article. It says, Manhattan bomb plot foiled as feds charge New York man with building, stashing IEDs across city. He said the following, the FBI mission is clear. Protect Americans before harm is done. Proud of our agents, New York FBI, and our partners in New York for dismantling the IED plot and protecting innocent lives. Anyone who threatens Americans with terror will be hunted down and brought to justice. Now think about it. If Trump didn't take control of all these agencies and put the people that are going to protect us in place, the deep state would be able to pull a lot of these false flags off, and they would wreak havoc across the country. And it looks like Kash and team, they're there to shut it all down before it happens. Because in the past, was the FBI actually really doing this? Absolutely not. Now, the other thing that we could see is that Tom Tillis, he's not running again, and he's a senator. Yes, he's a rhino in North Carolina. And he decided that he is not going to vote to confirm MAGA attorney and former TGP writer Paul Ingrassia to the office of the special counsel. So once again, you could see that these people, the rhinos, they're moving against Trump every step of the way. And when I say we have the majority in the House and the Senate, but we don't have control, this is a perfect example. Because again, these people are working against the Trump administration, working against the people of this country. Because again, these people aren't truly with the people. They pretend, they put on a good act, but they're really not with the people. Now, the other thing that we could see is that the judicial activism is reaching new heights. The federal judges in New Jersey, they invoked a rarely used judiciary power to remove interim U.S. Attorney Alina Habba. And they wanted to install her top assistant as the state's top prosecutor. So you know what Bondi did? She said, all right, you want to do that? That person's fired. Attorney General Pamela Bondi put this out and said, U.S. Attorney Habba has been doing a great job in making New Jersey safe again. Nonetheless, politically minded judges refused to allow her to continue in her position, replacing Alina with first assistant. According to the first assistant United States attorney in New Jersey, has just been fired. Todd Blanche responded to this and said, The district judges in New Jersey just proved this was never about law. It was about politics. They forced out President Trump's pick, U.S. Attorney Habba, then installed her deputy, colluding with the New Jersey senators along the way. It won't work. Pursuant to the president's authority, we've removed that deputy, effective immediately. This backroom vote will not override the authority of the chief executive. And once again, this is a really good time for the majority leader, John Thune, to say, listen, there's no recess. We're staying here through the month of August. We're working every single day, and we have to confirm all 260 nominees. And I do believe this has to be done right now. It all has to be fast-tracked. So this way, the Ds, they can't pull anything like this ever again. Now, the other thing we could see that Trump and his administration are doing, and those people in the House, they are now working on another rescission package. And this is going to codify the spending cuts on these key conservative issues. Now, think about what Trump is doing. These rescission packages, everything that Doge is saying, this is what we got to cut, or Cash is saying, or Bondi's saying, these are the expenses that we have to cut in our agencies. Basically, they're putting it into law. So this way, the deep state players can't reverse what they have done. They have to vote and reverse what they put into law. So they're making it much more difficult for the deep state to reestablish their system. Every step of the way, Trump and team, they're going to be putting up roadblocks. Yes, we have these rescission packages. Yes, it's going to make it very, very difficult for them to say, hey, we need to put this back into place. Eventually, what's going to happen is when Trump goes and gets rid of their funding, which is coming from the Federal Reserve, and he removes the Federal Reserve, they won't have the funding. All these cuts are are now law. So every step of the way, he's putting up barriers to make sure the deep state players don't have the ability to create their criminal syndicate system once again. Because once these agencies do not exist anymore, and these positions do not exist anymore, without the funding, without the spending, it's going to be very, very difficult to put all these things back into place. And what's very interesting is we could see that the deep state players, they were trying to use the Epstein files to create a distraction. And they, of course, they planted other information in the Epstein files. And they were trying to use this to distract away from the Russian collusion hoax. And this is not just the Russian collusion hoax. This is going to lead into Epstein. It's going to lead into the overthrow of the United States government. It's going to lead into Uranium One. It's going to lead into every single treasonous act that Obama, Hillary Clinton, and the rest have committed. And you can see the deep state players, they tried to distract the people. They tried to push this as hard as they possibly can. But Trump, he basically shut it all down by telling us that this is Russian collusion 2.0. Politico put this out and said, Trump is attempting to shift the public's focus away from the building crisis around the release of sealed documents detailing the Jeffrey Epstein case by urging his Justice Department to go after former President Obama. I think that tells you everything you need to know right now. Molly responded to Politico and said, Politico was an active and leading participant in the seditious Russian collusion hoax. That is why you are attempting to turn the public's focus away from the biggest scandal in our country's history. And really think about this. Think about why the memo was released. Think about the timing, because they knew what was coming. And the Democrats, they put this out. Don't let them off the hook. The Epstein files must be released. Think about it. Did the D's in the past ever want the Epstein files? Or did they wait for the right moment to push this? This is how you know it's a psyop. This is how you know the Epstein files aren't what you think they are. It's a trap for Trump. And they did it on purpose at the right moment, at the right time, when Trump is showing who the treasonous people are. And Trump, he wants to tell the story using facts, using the declassified information. And this is something the deep state players do not want. Clandestine responded to what the Democrats put out and says this was the reason Axios leaked the unofficial memo. And the Dem panic and influencers went into a frenzy about Epstein. Now the Dems have a way to deflect from the Russiagate revelations about Obama that they knew were coming. This is the hoax Trump was warning us about. People forget that nothing was officially released from Trump's DOJ, and this entire thing was sparked by an unofficial, unassigned, undated draft of a memo. None of this was officially released by the Trump DOJ. The entire thing was initiated by known deep state entity Axios, and now, given the benefit of hindsight, it's clear their objective was to create a narrative to preemptively deflect from the bombshell documents coming from DNI Gabbard, proving Obama and his cabal committed treason and that the Russia collusion narrative was all a lie. Thanks to the drama initiated by the Axios leak and clickbait influencers, now the Dems have a shiny red laser to distract the public with, after saying Epstein was a conspiracy theory for the last 10 years and never bringing up Epstein a single time while Biden was president. Their outrage is fake, and all of them know it. As per usual, the Dems are projecting Epstein is the distraction. They just don't want us talking about Obama's treason. But again, Trump basically shut all this down, and he actually took back control of the situation. We'll be talking about that in just a sec. But cynical Publius put this out and said, Epstein versus Russiagate, wake up. Okay, someone please tell me what is new in the Epstein matter that is causing it to be such a matter of sudden urgency. Go ahead, I'll wait. What is new? Tell me. As you may or may not recall, the latest iteration of the Epstein virus took place 11 days ago when a bogus, unsourced news story came out of the mainstream press from Bongino was quitting. That was the only thing that was new, and it ended up being a bogus, unsourced lie. That's a fact. There was nothing new in the Epstein matter. All of the current controversy had a match put to it by a bogus Bongino report. Now consider the timing. A straw man controversy was created literally 1 week before DNI Gabbard was to dump a treasure trove of factual evidence showing incontrovertibly that the Obama administration engaged in a seditious conspiracy in 2016 to overthrow the Constitution and the lawful will of the American electorate. That is the biggest political scandal in U.S. history. The deep state knew that data dump was forthcoming, so they had to get in front of it with some kind of Trump smear as a diversion. So they did. I'm stunned at the sheer number of smooth brains who cannot see that generating a controversy where there was literally no new news, and it was deliberate effort on the part of the Democrat media complex to obscure the stunning findings they knew were coming about Obama's crimes. I thought MAGA people were smarter than this, but apparently many are not. A lot of you are being manipulated and are gladly letting it happen. Shame on you. I think the base of MAGA, I think the true MAGA people, they were not fooled by this. And I think at this point in time, people now are starting to realize that once again, everything the deep state is doing is a gigantic lie. And Trump, who went through everything, he actually called them out on it. Why? Because he needed to take control of the situation. Maybe with the FBI, maybe they forced an individual within the FBI to put this memo out, confirm it really came from the FBI, to force the deep state players, the fake news, to push this. This way, Trump could take control of the situation. And think about what Trump did. He says, all right, you want the Epstein stuff? Plus, he got everyone talking about Epstein, which is going to come up later, because I do believe there's another investigation going on behind the scenes. He goes, all right, you want the Epstein stuff? What we'll do is we'll tell the DOJ to unseal the Epstein grand jury information from Florida and New York. And we'll see who's blocking the Epstein information. So right now, the federal judge in Florida, and this is U.S. District Judge Robin Rosenberg, this judge is an Obama appointee, said the DOJ failed to justify unsealing the records related to grand juries in West Palm Beach in 2005-2007. Judge Rosenberg also denied a request to transfer the matter to the Southern District of New York. And then we have Judge Engelmayer. Remember, he made a list of demands in response to the Justice Department. Is this individual, this judge, Judge Paul Engelmayer, who was appointed by Obama back in 2011, do you really think he's going to be releasing this information? So Trump, he could turn around and say, listen, I told the DOJ to unseal everything. They sent the request down to the judges, and 2 Obama judges decided we're not doing that. So Trump, he wants it released. He wants the grand jury information released. And now he just turned the entire conversation, and the people are going to say, well, why aren't these judges releasing it? This is very, very interesting. And they're both Obama appointee judges. So basically, he just took control of the narrative. Think about that for a second. And now all the people that want the Epstein stuff, turn your attention to these 2 judges, the one in Florida and one in New York. Why aren't they releasing it? Who's blocking it? Oh, that's right. It's Obama. Wait a minute. So it's the same Obama appointed judges, and Obama now is being exposed for treason, for overthrowing the United States government, going after a duly elected president. Very interesting how this is all playing out. And remember, everything the D's, everything the fake news has told us is one gigantic big lie. Who actually has been telling the big lie? It was them. Mays put this out and said, Russia election interference, Russia collusion, Hunter Biden's laptop was a Russia fake, Russia bounties hoax, all part of one big lie. And that's exactly true. And Tulsi Gabbard, she released more information, and it implicates Obama. Basically, Obama took the bait when Trump said, oh, he's guilty, he's treasonous, he's the one who did everything. Obama had to respond to that, and basically he spun everything, saying, no, that's not true. The Senate report and the ICA, they all confirmed that Russia was involved in helping Trump. Russia was involved in helping Trump cheat in the elections. And as soon as he did that, Tulsi Gabbard released the information and basically shut him all down, showing that he's a liar. This is what she put out. New evidence has emerged of the most egregious weaponization, politicization of intelligence in American history. Per President Trump's directive, I've declassified a House Intel Oversight Majority Staff report that exposes how the Obama administration manufactured the January 2017 intelligence community assessment that they knew was false, promoting the lie that Putin and the Russian government helped Trump win the 2016 election. In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people, working with their partners in the media to promote the lie in order to undermine the legitimacy of Trump, essentially enacting a year-long coup against him. Interesting. The lie: Putin and the Russian government helped Trump win the 2016 election. The truth: President Obama, former director of the CIA John Brennan, and others fabricated the Russian hoax, suppressed intelligence showing Putin was preparing for a Clinton victory, manufactured findings from shoddy sources, disobeyed IC standards, and knowingly lied to the American people. Lie: the fabricated Steele dossier was not used as a source in the Obama administration's January 2017 intelligence community assessment of the November 2016 election. Truth: not only did the CIA Director Brennan, FBI Director Comey, DNI Clapper, and others include the Steele dossier in the 2017 ICA, they overruled senior intel officials who warned them it was fabricated and should not be used. Lie: the Obama administration's January ICA was an independent intelligence community product, produced with apolitical analysis. The truth: Obama ordered the intelligence community to create an intelligence community assessment they knew was false, promoting a contrived narrative with the intent of undermining the legitimacy and power of a duly elected president of the United States, Donald Trump. Together, the ODNI, records released on Friday, the Justice Department's June 18, 2018 report known as the Clinton Annex, released earlier this week, and the House Intel Oversight Report we released today confirm that many Americans have known the Russian hoax was a lie that was knowingly created by the Obama administration to undermine the legitimacy and power of the duly elected president of the United States, Donald Trump. So everything that we talked about in 2018, 2019, that conspiracy, it's all turning out to be absolutely true. And yes, Obama is treasonous to this country. So basically, she just proved Obama directly gave the order to publish the Russia collusion hoax, knowing there was no evidence to back it up whatsoever. That should tell you everything you need to know. Now, of course, while Tulsi Gabbard was having a White House briefing, and she was telling the people all this, and the people were learning this, what did CNN do? Well, they cut away as soon as she started to outline the lengths to which the Obama administration went to manufacture the Russian collusion hoax. Because again, they can't spin the story, so all they can do is cut away and try to explain what is happening to their audience. And think about MSDNC, CNN, and all these other networks. Think about who watches these networks. It's all the D's. And remember, Trump's mission here is to wake the D's up, to make sure that the people start to understand who the true enemy is of this country. The people must understand that Obama is a Manchurian candidate. that Obama most likely was never a citizen in this country, and during the 2008 election, he overthrew the United States government, and as a non-citizen, infiltrated D.C., and then started the infiltration of this country and started to set everything up to destroy this country. And think about it. Trump baited Obama, and he took the bait like a fool. Tulsi destroyed Obama. And she's going to have a lot more to put out there. Sean Davis put this out and said, remember how Obama's top intel operatives tried to get former NSA Director Mike Rogers fired shortly after the 2016 election? Now we know exactly why. Rogers refused to sign on to the corrupt efforts of Brennan and Clapper to smuggle garbage, unverified intel into the ICA, and refused to say the NSA had high confidence in the intel. And guess which reporter the corrupt intel officials used to prosecute their war against Rogers? Ellen Nakashima of the Washington Post. Think about it. Why did they get rid of Flynn? Why did they get rid of a lot of people? Because they were not going along with the narrative. And remember, this was the criminal syndicate. Still is the criminal syndicate. And what's very interesting is that Durham, he did an exhaustive investigation into all of this. Now, I do believe Trump and the Patriots knew that no matter where they tried these cases, they were never going to get a conviction. But what they really wanted to do is they wanted to get these things on record, because this way they don't have to repeat all of this. Brian Cates put this out and said, it's because of Durham and his investigation, there's no need to reinvent the wheel here. All the heavy lifting was already been done. We know exactly how this grand conspiracy or joint venture between Clinton's State Department, presidential campaign, the Obama White House, Fusion GPS, Perkins Coie, the CIA, the FBI, DOJ, and certain members of the U.S. Congress and news media functioned. It was Durham who laid it all bare in his unsealed indictments, court filings, and reports. The last 2.5 years of this investigation, he was handicapped by having Joe Biden in the White House and Merrick Garland at the DOJ. So think about that for a second. He already laid it all out. Joe Lange responded to this and said the following: Brian is exactly right. If people think we've heard the last of Durham, they aren't paying attention. The prosecution phase was never going to happen in Trump's first term. The enemy is trying to distract from the fact that the entire Obama administration is being exposed for treason and are instead bashing key players on Team Trump. Don't fall for it. There's a reason why Durham only prosecuted a few small players in the conspiracy for the minimal charges. He was forced to do it in a D.C. courtroom and knew he couldn't get a conviction. Kuehl told us that this is why Sessions made Huber a special prosecutor outside of D.C. working with Horowitz. The huge thing that Durham did was investigate all these traitors and then establish the conspiracy by submitting evidence that can now be used in the future. And most people don't know this important fact. We know about Huber and Durham, but there's another prosecutor outside of D.C. that nobody knows about and was likely the recipient of the handoff of evidence from both Huber and Durham, whom I'm sure are still assisting. So I do believe we're going to see Durham come up again, all the evidence that he has, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's another prosecutor that is going to all of a sudden come out with additional information. Think about what is happening right now. Now, the other thing that came out was the annex on Hillary Clinton. And Kat Turd put this out and said, Hillary was suffering from intensified psycho-emotional problems, including uncontrolled fits of anger, aggression, and cheerfulness. Hillary was placed on a daily regimen of heavy tranquilizers. Now, that is very interesting. Remember those videos of her like falling down and having convulsions and things like that? I wonder it was from all the drugs that she was on and the panic attack that she was having. And think about what we said yesterday and what we said today. I do believe Obama is a Manchurian candidate. I don't believe that he's a citizen of this country. I think Trump has said this many, many times before he was president, saying that, he'd give something like $1 million for the birth certificate. And since everyone was calling for the birth certificate, they had an individual, Loretta Fuddy, create the birth certificate that they needed. And then all of a sudden, Fuddy died in a plane crash. Actually, She's the only one that died in a plane crash. Karma Patriot put this out and said, there was definitely a scuba diver dressed in all black that took her out in the water after the crash. And on the video, you can see they're all in the water. They all have the life preservers on. And they're all swimming around. And all of a sudden, an individual in a black diver suit came up, grabbed her, and pulled her underwater. Now, again, all these people are in life preservers. Did they actually have to do anything to stay afloat? No, they really didn't. And it seems that they needed to get rid of her because, again, if she testified or if she said anything, it would be proven that she falsified documents. I think that's exactly what she did. And I do believe in the end, we're going to find out that, yes, he was a non-citizen. They tricked us. They overthrew the United States government in 2008. They tried to do it in 2016. Then they tried to have a coup after Trump was in office because they never expected Hillary Clinton to lose. And then they finally overthrew the United States government. Once Trump was in control, once he had everything in place, he allowed them to overthrow the United States government, activated the military, activated continuity of government, and he caught them all in the act. Remember, this is not just about catching them on one crime. This is about catching them in every single crime, every single treasonous crime, so you can use this against them over and over and over and over. It builds the narrative. Because again, they are a tyrannical government. They're a criminal syndicate. They're treasonous to this country. Do you really think they just went ahead and did one treasonous act? No, they have done multiple treasonous acts to cover their tracks. The cover-up always gets you. Joan Lange, again, says, can you see what Trump is emphasizing and now connecting to Obama and his merry little band of co-conspirators? Election fraud. Do you think that's just a coincidence? Trump is baiting Obama and the media some more because he knows what's coming. Obama tried to rig the election in 2016 and the military prevented it. Obama then rigged the election in 2020 and the military allowed it so that we could gather all the evidence. Biggest sting operation in history. Then Obama tried to steal the election again in 2024 and the military prevented it. Why? So that now we can expose it all and completely transform our nationwide election system, along with prosecuting all these traitors. Thank you for playing. And that's absolutely true. And we could see as time goes on, more and more of this evidence is going to come out. And why is Trump dripping this evidence out? Why is he telling the people now? Because now he has the leverage. Now he's safe. Now he has the strength. Now he can go after all these people. He couldn't do it in 2016. He couldn't do it when Biden was in office. Now he's taking control. We have Kash Patel and his team. They're protecting us from all these different false flags. We have other teams that are protecting us. Now, it doesn't mean the deep state might try a false flag and they might succeed maybe with a cyber attack or something. But you could see they are now trying to keep as safe as possible as all this evidence is brought out into the open. Because Trump, what does he need to do? He needs to educate the American people, not the people that already know. It's all the other people that never believed, all the other people that think this is a conspiracy, all the other people that believed over time what the fake news has been telling them. Clandestine put this out and said, if Obama and other high-profile individuals ever were to be arrested, this is exactly how I envision it would play out. The public must be briefed on why it is these people that are being arrested before the arrests happen. And it's a matter of national security. The public must be ready to accept arrests. Otherwise, it could cause widespread chaos. The media would claim Trump is a dictator, and it could lead to a public uprising, nationwide riots, mass civilian casualties, collective psychological anguish, etc. But if the public are shown that Obama and his cabal were engaged in treasonous acts before they are arrested, the public will be more willing to accept it without sparking widespread chaos. We, as the public, are currently being briefed as to what happened. The idea of Obama and his cabal being arrested is being seeded and normalized. It's a gradual progression, not a Band-Aid rip. What Tulsi is doing right now is educating the public and preparing them for what is yet to come. Based on what I'm seeing and the coordination behind this rollout, I believe it's happening. As for when the arrests happen, I do not know. It will happen when the time is right, after the public are fully briefed on the crimes committed, shown the evidence and the psychological blow has been softened. And think about it. The timing of this, yeah, can it happen tomorrow? Yes, it can. But we're going to try these people. I do believe we have to wait until we actually have full control of the judiciary. So if arrests aren't made in 3 months, 12 months, because you know what's going to happen. The people are going to say, yeah, told you, no arrests are going to happen. See what's happening here? Nothing's going to happen. So once again, I do believe Trump needs control over the judiciary. He's starting the narrative right now, and a lot more information. I think when all said and done, we're going to find out as we approach the midterms that they were involved in overthrowing the United States government in every single year. And this is going to be absolutely amazing. And I do believe we're going to be learning about other crimes. And we'll have to see how this all plays out. Now, the other thing that's really good is that a federal judge has tossed the leftist lawsuit in Wyoming. And basically, the United States District Court Judge Scott Skavdal ruled in favor of the Secretary of State, Chuck Gray, and dismissed outright the lawsuit filed by the Equality State Policy Center, which had enlisted notorious Democrat operative Mark Elias in a blanket attempt to strike down House Bill 156. Now, again, these bills, they require to prove that you're a citizen. Secretary of State Chuck Gray celebrated the ruling. He said, "This is a huge win for the people of Wyoming. Proof of citizenship for registering to vote is common sense. Conservative election integrity measure and was the number one priority of our administration's conservative election integrity reform agenda and a key priority of Trump. Mark Elias' outrageously wrong lawsuit has always been an attempt by the radical left to undermine the common sense election integrity measure Wyomingites want." So he let everyone know that we were able to beat Mark Elias in all of this. And the judge even said that this wasn't even a lawsuit. This should have never been brought. So right there, we could see the D's, they're losing every step of the way. And I do believe Trump is setting everything up for the midterms. He's setting it up for the election because remember, when all this information comes out, you think that people are going to be going, hey, let's vote for the D's. Let's vote for these people. Let's vote for all these people that are treasonous to this country. I do believe we're going to find out a lot more information. Those people that are getting kickbacks, those people that assisted in all of this. I do believe in the end, when all this information comes out before the midterms, it's going to destroy the D Party, which is actually going to give Trump and all the people of this country a lot of leverage to actually change the House and change the Senate, because that's what this is all about. Trump needs full and total control to change everything the deep state players put into place. Remember, Soros and many, many others, they put all these different federal judges, certain attorney generals, prosecutors, all in place across the country. It's now time to reverse this so we can have accountability and we can have justice, and we need to follow the rule of law. Because remember, we only have one chance to do this, and we do not want to do this with a Soros judge, with a blackmail judge, with the judges that we see today. And I do believe this is Trump's mission. I do believe it's on schedule. And I do believe the Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.